Good morning. Thank you all for being here, our brave returning soldiers and a few new people. Did you all have fun yesterday? I've never seen a crowd more enthusiastic about energy and data centers and AI. Well, I am delighted to be here with you this morning. I'm Sarah Hunt. I'm the CEO and president of the Joseph Rainey Center for Public Policy. And I have with me Mr. Carl Coe. He is the chief of staff at the Department of Energy in Washington, D.C., although he is a resident of North Carolina. He comes home on the weekends.
That's right.
He's a great American who is doing some terrific things that he's going to share with you. And he'll be here to give you guys some wisdom as you consider what to do in your state on energy and data centers. So let's get started. Good. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Am I on? It's green. Can you hear me? How about now? That's better. All right. Well, go Canes. So yeah, I live here in Cary, right up the road, and I had a software company that I sold in 2021 that was about 2 blocks that way. So I did make the mistake of going to the AC Hotel at North Hills because I forgot they built this one. So but thrilled to be here for a million reasons. I never anticipated I would be in government, first of all, or the Department of Energy or politics or anything that I'm doing today. It's a gift of 10 lifetimes. I work for Chris Wright, Secretary Chris Wright, and I hope all of you know who he is and follow him, or if you don't, please do follow him. He's one of the greatest human beings in this country. He's incredibly smart, an incredibly good man, and the country's just super lucky to have him, and I get to sit side saddle with him every day and learn from him, so it's a gift.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure he learns from you too. What has been the most surprising part of your current role, and how maybe has that surprise helped you see things differently?
It's a great question, and I get that quite a bit. There are several things. First of all, the DOE, many of you may not know, we're over 150,000 people. We're responsible for the grid and all things energy that you're familiar with, but also we have the 17 national labs. The 17 national labs are an absolute national treasure that are undervalued. They're particularly relevant now with all things AI that I'm sure we're going to talk about. We're responsible for the nuclear stockpile, and we're responsible for, we've got the power marketing authorities, the utilities out west. So it's a very vast organization. So there's a lot to learn there. But the thing that was most surprising was how unbelievably dedicated the career federal employees are. You know, as a citizen, you sort of have a negative connotation about government employees, and I found it to be exactly the opposite. They are smart and dedicated and patriotic, and they really care. We had a town hall 2 days ago across all of DOE, and someone asked who's our longest serving employee. And it turns out we have 5 employees at DOE active today that have been there more than 50 years.
Wow.
The longest he's been there 61 years as an employee. And I pulled one up out of the audience. She's been there 53 years, and she stood up on the fly and just absolutely crushed it. Like, it was just so cool to hear her talk about what DOE means to her, what working for the government means to her. And it really made you proud. So long answer to your question, but I think it's the dedication of the career employees.
Yeah. Well, I love that answer. Did they tell you that my brother and my sister and my brother-in-law all work for the labs?
No.
Well, I'm from New Mexico.
All right.
Yeah, one of my brothers is a nuclear engineer at Los Alamos.
Oh my God.
And my brother and sister-in-law, my sister and brother-in-law are at Sandia. And then I actually have a brother he is here, but he wanted to go to the dinosaur museum. He has a PhD in artificial intelligence and biomedical engineering, and he worked at Sandia before he went to get his PhD. So we're big fans of the national labs in my family.
Guess so. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that they have good long careers that they're happy with.
That's right.
So tell us what you are seeing in terms of trends on the hot topic of the day, data centers, and especially how does that relate to energy and some of the exciting investments and programs that you all are doing at the Department of Energy right now to help us develop and build the energy we need in this country to win the AI arms race?
Nothing to that question at all.
You can take it a lot of places. Go for it.
There's nothing more important, and you folks are on the front lines of this challenge. It's become, I think, much more of a challenge than was anticipated in terms of the pushback on data centers, the general pushback on AI, and you're probably trying to figure out how do we thread this needle, get what the country needs, keep the communities happy, etc. So that is a massive part of what we're facing. But let me take a step back on AI itself. That I think the populace, the civilians, you folks, everyone needs to really understand deeply. AI is not about large language models. It's not about ChatGPT. It's literally about using AI. What AI will do will help us solve humanity's greatest scientific challenges. It will help us do things that we never would have dreamed possible in a fraction of the time, that will extend lifespan, that will make us healthier, that will make us more prosperous, that will solve our material science problems, that will solve all of our great scientific and health challenges. That is exactly what AI is going to bring to us. So when you think of AI or you think of data centers and the relation to energy, it's energy in and intelligence out. The output, the data center and AI itself is almost irrelevant. It's just the mechanism. Intelligence is what we're getting in a way that we never, ever, ever dreamed possible, in a way that will come to us in a fraction of the time that has ever been seen before. And so I feel like, and this is something we're talking a lot about at DOE, we need to arm you folks with all the material possible about to arm you with the good things that we will get from AI. And it's not without controversy. I mean, we would be foolish to ignore the challenges of what AI is going to bring. But with all things, you're going to have challenges. Let's focus on the good. The other thing that I want to highlight, it's easy to say this is a race. And you've heard that in many different contexts. But in this case, it is the quintessential race against China that you can't afford to be second. So with Manhattan Project, as an example, our first big scientific challenge as a country, we couldn't afford to be second. It is analogous in this case. If they control the models, if they control the intelligence, if they're solving the most critical human problems faster than we are, that we may not be able to catch up. And so what do we have that China doesn't have? And they will tell you this. In fact, the Secretary and I we just booked a trip. We're going to China in September. And what they will tell you privately is what they don't have are the hyperscalers. They do not have these massive companies with massive talent and massive amounts of money and motivation and American ingenuity. They don't have anything like that. They have the CCP. And that CCP is immensely powerful with a lot of money and a lot of control. But they have nothing that matches against the hyperscalers. So we have to be really careful as a country not to hamstring our hyperscalers, our greatest asset in this particular race. We're putting ourselves in a position that's going to hamstring our greatest asset in the context of AI.
If you are a state policymaker or a county commissioner, we have some of those folks in the room too. What is the most important thing that they can do right now to make sure that we not only win this arms race, which I like to call it the electricity war for human freedom.
There you go.
Because that's what it is. We need, AI is electricity with attitude, as we like to say around here. And you don't have AI without affordable, reliable power.
That's right.
So what is the most important thing that these fine people who have the ability to do something can do to make sure that we win the arms race, but also achieve some of these scientific advancements for human quality of life that we all want to see happen?
Yeah, great question. And I think we owe you, from DOE and from the federal government, we owe you all the use cases, all the positive stories that are out there. And we're working on that. And we'll have it out actually very soon. And Rainey will be a great conduit to share that information through. I'll give you a couple of examples. So we just announced the world's largest data center to ever be produced in Portsmouth, Piketon, Portsmouth, Ohio. It's one of the most depressed counties in the country. Is a former gaseous diffusion plant on DOE land from the Cold War that had been decommissioned, and we've been cleaning up for almost 50 years. Well, this data center is a 9.8 gigawatt data center. Is going to bring 135,000 jobs over the next 6 years in a community that is completely decimated. The other things to think about, we've all heard about Loudoun County, Virginia. It's about $5.5 billion of annual impact from the data centers, $845 million a year of taxes paid through the data centers. The stories over and over and over about the economic impact in the communities, the schools that are built, the firehouses that are built, the parks that are built, the jobs that are brought, the tax base, all of that needs to be spelled out for you folks clearly, very, very clearly, story after story after story. And I think we've all been caught a little flat-footed on our heels, not anticipating the sort of an ambush on the negativity. And it's a very organized negative campaign against these things. And in the end, it reminds me a lot of fracking from 20 years ago. You know, if the country today, without fracking and everything that we're facing in terms of energy challenges, and we're energy abundant because of what we did with fracking, but the fear mongering that went on and the campaigns against fracking were just, if you remember, they were tremendous. Well, today, where the company is strong and flourishing, really in large part because of fracking, with very, very, very few downsides. And there's a lot of that in this story as well. But we owe you the messaging. And I think you're going to see that very soon.
We've been doing a lot of polling on these issues. So we have some interesting insights. We just got a poll back, and we've found over time in our polling, voters are skeptical of data centers, but when you start giving them facts, they change their minds completely.
Yeah.
When they learn that data centers recycle water.
Yes. When
they learn about the Ratepayer Protection Pledge, which, by the way, our last poll, which was fielded at the end of May, 9% of American voters had heard about the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. And once we told them about it, over 60% of voters suddenly thought that data centers were a good idea. So that's something that we're going to be working on with DOE a little bit, is making sure that all of you and your constituents know about the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. And if you tell them that your data centers are going to bring blue-collar jobs that can't be outsourced, if you tell them about the actual concrete tax benefits. We have a member of our network in West Virginia who he's a IT guy and a nerd, and he made a website where you can go in West Virginia and you can put in, this is how big the data center is. This is how much tax revenue it will generate. This is how many police jobs that means. This is how many schools. And it's really neat. You can do it for any county in his state. But when you give people information like that, their opinions move and they start to see that they are getting misinformation. Are you all concerned about the misinformation in this particular area? And frankly, in energy in general, there is a lot of misinformation. What is DOE doing on that? How are you tackling this?
Yeah, we're very concerned. And several things to hit there that are critical. You said it. The facts are actually on our side.
Yeah.
The data is on our side. You know, we're not a bunch of rogue knuckleheads out there doing things that don't make sense for the country. We try to do things that add jobs, bring energy, bring companies, bring human flourishing to the country. We're not here to tear things down. We're here to build things up. And so you do that based on data. As the secretary says over and over and over, energy is about two things. It's about humans and math. Humans and math. And what that means is if it helps humankind flourish and it makes sense financially, that's what we do. And so data is the right way to attack this. All the information, as you said, the water's recycled. We're not going to harm the water supply for data centers. It's about presenting them the facts over and over and over. And so energy, you said energy, there's a lot of misinformation about energy. So let's hit on that real quick, because beyond the data center challenge, it's very important that people understand how the energy mix works, how the grid works in context of what energy source you choose. So without getting too complex, what matters the most on a grid is not a day like today when it's beautiful, the sun is shining, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. We're at least at 50% capacity on most days in our energy grid. We are not energy challenged most days. But what matters is when we've got a peak event, a winter storm like we had with Winter Storm Fern at the end of January, where that was actually one of the biggest storms we've ever had in the country, because it covered such a large geography and it lasted so long. So what mattered then was, for that long a period, what energy source you had when you needed it the most. And I have the data on North Carolina. I want to hit on New England real quick just for context. So New England has spent about $38 billion on wind and solar. And at peak during Winter Storm Fern, they got about 40% of their energy from natural gas. Actually, it was diesel, believe it or not. Diesel was their highest percent, which is absolutely crazy, expensive, dirty. Then it was natural gas. Then it was nuclear. And for that $37 billion on wind and solar, they got 2% of their power from wind and 0% from solar. But they did get 3% from burning trash and wood, right? So they spent $37 billion on wind and solar, but when they needed that source the most, it's absent. And you have to be really careful in where you invest. So same thing here in North Carolina. North Carolina has a really healthy energy mix, 42% natural gas. You're one of the largest states on nuclear at 32% in nuclear, and on down the line. But North Carolina spent 10 to 12 billion on wind and solar. You got 0% in wind and solar on January 28th and 29th when we were at peak, and 100% from hydrocarbons. So making sure people understand the data behind how you do your energy mix is incredibly important. And you can't make decisions based on politics. You have to make decisions based on humans and math.
Yeah, I think everybody, I love wind and solar. I'm an all of the above and all of the below type of person. All of our energy sources are important, and they play a role in different cases. I would say our polling showed that if you told voters that their data centers can be powered by solar and batteries, they really liked that. That changed minds. And there are definite use cases. If you're building a data center in New Mexico,
that's right,
putting some utility scale solar there is probably a really good idea. It might not be a good idea in New England, where you've got a lot of ice and snow. But this is why options are important to communities. And I think for example, speaking of different strokes for different folks, do you know that North Carolina was the only state to have a hog waste requirement in their RPS?
Johnson County.
Yeah. So you mentioned trash, and this brought it to mind. But isn't it amazing that we can take uranium and hog waste and wind and trash and natural gas are all kinds of things that we can turn into energy.
That's right.
But I mean, you're absolutely right. When they're thinking about energy policy, I think it is important to consider your geography, your locality, and what your community needs. I will also say speed to build is important.
Very.
Right now, we have more solar bogged down in the interconnection queue regulatory process than is currently deployed in the entire country.
Yes.
Imagine if we could get some of that red tape streamlined and bring all of that online when we need this electricity.
That's right.
I don't really care where the electrons come from as long as they're there.
Yep.
I'm not trying to pick a fight with you.
Yeah.
I appreciate your patience. But it's really important that we are doing everything we can to build as much energy as possible without regards to source, while giving states and communities, whether it's New England or North Carolina or California or New Mexico, the ability to decide what works best for their state.
That's the point.
Yeah.
The point is not that wind and solar is bad.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, don't overinvest in sources that don't work for your community.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in New Mexico, it makes perfect sense. In Nevada, it makes perfect sense. But what we did as a country is we incentivized so heavily through tax incentives and other things to build sources that didn't match for that geography.
Mm-hmm.
So our ultimate point is, let's not over subsidize the wrong things, but allow whatever makes sense for your community with humans and math in mind, and let that be your barometer.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for everyone on these kind of difficult issues. 'Cause, you're right, Carl, we get all worked up about politics on energy, and electrons aren't red or blue. Mm-mm. They're just electrons. Mm-hmm. What matters is that we need them, we have them when we need them.
Yes.
So what are some of the interesting things that you all are doing in terms of getting energy built faster?
Yeah.
Because this Department of Energy under Secretary Wright's leadership is doing some very cool things in that regard. Yeah. And I would love for you to share.
Sure. So there are a bunch of them, and I'll try to summarize. So you mentioned the Ratepayer Protection Plan is really important, a very important policy initiative that does protect these communities. These hyperscalers, when they come in, they're going to build all the infrastructure, and they're guaranteed not to raise the ratepayers' rates. That's incredibly important to understand. But then in terms of energy sources, it's sort of three big categories. First, we needed to stop turning off sources that were before the end of their life. So that when we came in, there were over 100 gig of coal plants set to be retired before their useful life. And so at peak, we have a real gap. And as we bring back manufacturing to the U.S. and the AI wave comes, we are going to have real challenges in capacity. We couldn't take off 100 gigs to make that hole even deeper. So we had to stop that. And then it's a lot about optimizing what we already have. So, we have these incredible energy resources today. They need modernized. They need a lot of investment through optimization. So uprates for nuclear, reconductoring for transmission lines. There's a lot of things we can do that we are doing that can be done in a very short period of time. That without massive amounts of investment, that will get us 10, 20, 30% out of what we've already got. And then lastly, it's all about new capacity. And so the biggest investment there on new capacity, of course, is nuclear. It's something I spend a massive amount of time on and really enjoy. The good news on nuclear, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's absolutely happening. The bad news on nuclear, it's going to take a long time to come online. But the truth is, we have to start now. So the large nuclear reactors, I mentioned North Carolina at 32% of your energy source from nuclear is great, because the national average is 19%. So people don't realize 19% of the overall energy source of the country does come from nuclear. We built over 100 reactors in the first 12 years of the nuclear renaissance. We've built maybe call it 3 over the last 40 years. Yeah. So we crippled that industry. So we're bringing that back. We have we are so natural gas abundant. It's unbelievable. we have more gas than we could ever possibly use in this country and export in this country. So we have to take advantage of that, and we are. It's just a fantastic, much cleaner, low cost, abundant source of energy. The other thing we're doing through our EDF, our Energy Dominance Finance Group, we have a $289 billion lending authority to be used on energy resources. And what we've chosen to do, our primary use of those funds is through the utilities, where they're going to use those dollars to bring down rates. So they're going to spend money on all optimizing the grid in their particular area, all and guarantee rate reduction. So the first one that we did was with Southern Company, a $28 billion loan. From that $28 billion loan, they are guaranteeing a $7 billion payback to the ratepayers. We're in talks with Duke right now to do the same here in North Carolina. And you'll see that over and over and over. And that will suck up the majority of that $289 billion focused on the grid and reducing ratepayers' rates.
Yeah, the grid is really important right now, shoring it up. So I'm glad that you all are working on that and working with utilities. It's so important. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Well, first of all, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. Please do come to us. If you're stuck, if you need help, please, you can reach out to me directly or our team. You're on the front line battling to build these data centers, and we desperately need them in the country. In the long term, it's not really a choice, and all we're really doing is making it harder on ourselves to win this race. But we're there to help you get this done. And we'll be a resource through you. Through Rainey would be a great way we can interface, or you can come to me directly. But I'm very, very proud of the DOE. I'm very proud of Secretary Wright. Very proud of what this administration is doing. We're trying to take a very practical, rational approach to solving the country's problem around energy, without politics, but humans and math.
No, that's great. And it's definitely the right direction, that we're looking at humans and math and what we need to do to deliver the energy that Americans need. And honestly, that the free world needs.
The free world needs.
Yes, reach out to us if there's anything we can do to support you in terms of interfacing with Carl or the whole team at the Department of Energy. If you are also into nuclear, we brought you all some I Like Small Nukes and I Cannot Lie t-shirts. There are also matching temporary tattoos, if that's your thing. So please check that out, because we don't want to take it all back to DC. Thank you so much, Carl. I really appreciate you coming out, and I appreciate your public service. You didn't need to go and work in the government. You've done well for yourself, but so I know you are doing it because you love your country, and just like the legislators in this room, you love serving the people, and I'm very grateful to you, because I know it's a sacrifice for you and your family.
Yeah, thank you. My wife is not so thrilled with the choice, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, it's like a deployment. I'm sure she understands that you are fighting for truth, justice, and the American way.
There you go. Great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.